The deadliest weapon that saved humanity from giant Ice Age monsters wasn't a sharp stone spear or a fiery torch. It was human sweat. While a giant short-faced bear could easily crush a human skull with one paw strike, it had one fatal biological flaw. It couldn't sweat, causing its internal organs to overheat and boil in the sun after running just a few miles. Hairless early humans used this disgusting biological superpower to literally chase giant monster beasts until they collapsed from extreme thermal exhaustion. Don't skip a single second and watch this video all the way to the end, because how human sweat conquered the world's deadliest predators will change how you view your own body forever. Your high school history textbook probably showed pictures of brave prehistoric hunters charging at mammoth herds with wooden spears. But evolutionary anthropology reveals a far more terrifying truth. For over 90% of human existence, we were fair game for Ice Age mega-carnivores. In 1924, archaeologists in South Africa discovered the fossilized skull of the Tong child, a 3-year-old hominid who lived nearly 3 million years ago. Paleoanthropologist Lee Berger proposed a compelling hypothesis, later supported by 2006 comparative studies of eagle talon puncture marks on modern African monkeys, suggesting that a giant prehistoric raptor snatched the infant hominid directly from the ground. At the Swartkrans cave site, legendary paleoanthropologist C.K. Brain demonstrated that the famous SK54 hominid skull bears twin puncture holes in its cranium, matching the exact canine spacing of a hunting leopard. If you want to understand how a defenseless primate survived a world of monsters, hit that subscribe button right now before we dive deeper into the darkness. To understand the sheer terror of the Pleistocene epoch, you must meet the creatures that hunted your grandfathers. Imagine walking through tall grass with nothing but a wooden stick, knowing that hiding in the shadows is Smilodon populator, the saber-toothed cat weighing over 400 kilograms with canine teeth 18 centimeters long. These were not modern lions that immobilized prey slowly. Saber-tooths used specialized neck muscles to drive their blade-like fangs directly into vulnerable neck areas, severing main blood vessels in seconds. Alongside Smilodon roamed Dinocrocuta gigantea, a prehistoric hyena weighing 1/4 of a ton with a bite force capable of shattering an elephant leg bone. At the Dmanisi fossil site in Georgia, dated to 1.8 million years ago, hominid remains exhibit crushing bite fractures inflicted by giant hyenas and Machaerotis saber-tooths. If Dinocrocuta caught an early human alone, it did not wait to neutralize its target. It immediately began feeding. In the dark forests of Europe and North America, early humans faced Arctodus simus, the giant short-faced bear. Standing nearly 4 meters tall on its hind legs and weighing over 1,000 kilograms, Arctodus was the largest terrestrial mammalian carnivore to ever walk the earth. It possessed long, slender limbs designed for sustained trotting across vast distances, enabling it to outrun any hominid over open terrain. In a one-on-one fight against these mega-predators, an unarmed human had 0% chance of survival. Our muscles were 60% weaker than chimpanzees, our skin was thin and hairless, and our sprinting speed was pathetic compared to a big cat that could accelerate to 60 kilometers per hour in seconds. So how did our fragile, hairless ancestors avoid total extinction? The first major breakthrough was not a weapon, but a fundamental change in body posture: bipedalism. Standing upright on 2 legs gave early hominids a higher vantage point in tall savanna grass, allowing them to spot stalking predators hundreds of meters away before an ambush could take place. But bipedalism offered a far greater strategic advantage. It freed our hands. With 2 free limbs, early humans began picking up heavy river stones and thick wooden branches. Throwing projectiles is an ability unique to the human lineage. No other primate can throw an object with high velocity and lethal accuracy. When a group of 10 hominids stood shoulder to shoulder, hurling sharp stones at a solitary leopard, they created a standoff. A big cat relies on stealth and zero-risk ambushes. A single broken rib or infected wound meant death for a predator. Throwing stones made humans unpredictable and dangerous prey. If you've ever felt a sudden urge to check under your bed or glance over your shoulder when walking alone in the dark, drop a comment below and let us know. You are executing the exact same Paleolithic hypervigilance that kept your ancestors from becoming tiger food. While throwing stones created a temporary buffer, nightfall remained a nightmare. Early hominids possessed terrible night vision compared to big cats, whose eyes contain a reflective layer called the tapetum lucidum that amplifies ambient starlight. For millions of years, sunset was an invitation for relentless nocturnal predation. That all changed roughly 1 million years ago with the mastery of fire. Discovered at sites like Wondervert Cave in South Africa and Zhoukoudian in China, controlled fire revolutionized human survival. Fire did not just cook meat, it created an impenetrable thermal and visual barrier against night predators. Carnivores possess an instinctual terror of fire. A blazing campfire turned a dark, defenseless cave mouth into a fortress. For the first time in planetary history, early humans could sleep through the night without being dragged into the dark by their ankles. Fire also unlocked a secondary survival superpower: social bonding around the hearth. Gathering around the flame forced early humans to communicate, share survival intelligence, and develop complex language. But daylight brought a new problem: how to hunt in an environment filled with faster, stronger carnivores. Humans could not sprint fast enough to catch a gazelle, nor could we fight off a lion pack for a carcass. Evolutionary biologists Daniel Lieberman and Hermann Poncer proved that humans developed a secret physiological weapon: endurance running. While quadrupeds overheat quickly because they can only pant to cool down while running, humans evolved millions of eccrine sweat glands across hairless skin. Sweat allowed humans to dump body heat efficiently while running under a blazing sun. Anatomical adaptations for endurance running transformed human physiology completely. Our species developed the nuchal ligament, a specialized elastic band in the neck that keeps the head steady while running without burning extra energy. We evolved wide, arched foot structures and enlarged Achilles tendons that act as natural biological springs, storing and releasing elastic energy with every stride. Coupled with the capacity to secrete up to 12 liters of sweat per day, early humans possessed a cooling thermal capacity unmatched by any mammal on Earth. During persistence hunting, a small group of human hunters would track an antelope or zebra during the hottest hour of the day, forcing the animal to sprint continuously. Each time the exhausted animal stopped to rest under a tree, the humans appeared in the distance, jogging at a steady, relentless pace. After several hours of continuous tracking, the animal's internal temperature reached fatal levels, causing it to collapse from heat stroke. Early humans did not overcome megafauna with brute strength. We chased them until their organs boiled from the inside out. Which do you think played a bigger role in human survival? The physical endurance of sweat or the psychological weapon of fire? Share your thoughts in the comments. As early humans perfected persistence hunting, we ran into a dangerous conflict: kleptoparasitism, stealing kills from apex carnivores. When a saber-toothed cat brought down a bison, a group of 5 humans armed with firebrands and throwing spears would approach the feeding predator. By screaming in unison, waving burning torches, and hurling sharp rocks, early humans intimidated solitary big cats into abandoning their fresh kills. This dangerous scavenging strategy allowed humans to access massive quantities of high-calorie animal fat and marrow without taking the immense risk of hunting living megapredators themselves. High-calorie bone marrow fueled rapid brain expansion, which in turn generated more sophisticated survival technology. By 300,000 years ago, the invention of hafted wooden spears and stone projectile points transformed humans from defensive scavengers into active apex predators. The famous Schöningen spears discovered in Germany demonstrate that archaic humans crafted perfectly balanced thrusting and throwing spears capable of penetrating the thick hide of prehistoric horses and cave bears. At the Boxgrove site in England, archaeologists uncovered horse bones bearing clear puncture wounds from wooden spears alongside hominid teeth showing predator gnaw marks, evidence of a brutal back-and-forth war for dominance. When combined with coordinated group tactics, a hunting party of 20 humans operating as a single tactical unit could outmatch any carnivore on Earth. We developed specialized hunting roles: drivers who channeled predators into narrow canyons, flankers who threw heavy rocks, and thrusting spearmen who delivered lethal blows. Beyond endurance running and fire, early humans developed primitive camouflage and olfactory deception strategies to outsmart apex predators. Paleolithic hunters realized that big cats possessed hypersensitive sense of smell, capable of detecting human scent downwind from miles away. To mask their scent, early humans covered their bodies with mud, river clay, and crushed aromatic herbs before setting out on hunts. Furthermore, hunters wore animal hides and animal skulls as early visual dissimulation tools, allowing them to blend into herds of grazing herbivores without triggering predator alarm responses. Early hominids also pioneered primitive pitfall traps and sharpened wooden stake barriers long before inventing metal tools. By digging deep trenches along narrow migratory passes and lining the bottom with fire-hardened wooden spikes, human bands created lethal interception zones. When driven by noise and fire, giant predators like cave bears or saber-toothed cats tumbled into these concealed pits, rendering them completely helpless against thrusting spears from above. This tactical landscape manipulation demonstrated that human intelligence could transform nature itself into a deadly weapon against our fiercest biological rivals. The rise of human cooperative hunting sparked one of the most fierce scientific debates in paleoanthropology concerning the late Quaternary extinction event. Between 50,000 and 10,000 years ago, mega-carnivores like saber-toothed cats, cave lions, and giant short-faced bears vanished across the globe. Paleontologist Paul S. Martin proposed the famous Overkill hypothesis, arguing that relentless human hunting parties decimated herbivore populations and directly drove mega-predators to extinction. However, opposing scientists contend that rapid climate shifts and vegetation collapse at the end of the last glacial maximum were the primary drivers of this die-off. Did human hunters single-handedly wipe out Ice Age monster predators, or were we simply opportunistic survivors of a changing planet? Share which hypothesis you find more convincing in the comments below. Despite conquering apex predators, the ancient neurobiology of being prey remains deeply embedded inside your brain. The amygdala, the threat processing center of the human brain, still reacts to sudden movements in the dark with the exact same physiological panic as an Australopithecus facing a cave lion. Modern phobias, such as fear of snakes, spiders, heights, and dark enclosed spaces, are not learned behaviors. They are evolutionary ghost memories. Children raised in urban skyscrapers who have never seen a venomous snake in real life will instinctively jump in fear at a coiled garden hose. Your brain maintains a prehistoric database of lethal threats that saved your bloodline for 2 million years. Ancient humans also survived predators by building intricate megastructures and choosing high-altitude refuges. In places like the Dordogne region of France, Neanderthal and early Homo sapiens groups chose cave entrances located high up on steep limestone cliffs with narrow access paths. These elevated roosts functioned like natural medieval castles. A cave lion attempting to climb a sheer cliff face was easily spotted and repelled with dropping rocks long before reaching the entrance. Inside these high-altitude sanctuaries, early humans established permanent hearths, tool-making workshops, and burial sites that kept vulnerable infants and pregnant mothers safe from wandering packs of direwolves. The daily routine of a Paleolithic hunter-gatherer was entirely structured around predator avoidance and collective vigilance. Before leaving the cave at dawn, scouts would check the surrounding perimeter for fresh tracks, scent markings, or bent vegetation that indicated a big cat was lurking nearby. Children were never left unattended. They were kept in the center of the foraging group, surrounded by adults carrying spears. When gathering roots, berries, or firewood, humans worked in pairs, with one person harvesting while the other scanned the horizon for movement. Survival was a 24-hour group exercise where solitary behavior meant death. When we examine modern hunter-gatherer tribes like the Hadza of Tanzania or the San of the Kalahari, we see the living remnants of these prehistoric survival strategies. Hadza hunters still share their territory with modern lions, leopards, and hyenas. They do not live in fear, but in a state of relaxed, continuous environmental awareness. They read the body language of vultures, listen to the warning calls of birds, and know precisely when a lion has secured prey. By understanding predator psychology and respecting territorial boundaries, modern hunter-gatherers demonstrate that humans survived not by eradicating nature, but by mastering its rules. Beyond sentinels, early humans pioneered the construction of thorn bush defensive enclosures known as Boma structures, which are still utilized by pastoralist communities across East Africa today. By cutting dense acacia branches covered in razor-sharp thorns and weaving them into impenetrable circular walls around their campsites, early hominids created physical barriers that prevented lions and hyenas from making surprise nighttime charges. A big cat attempting to leap over an acacia thorn boma faced severe puncture injuries, effectively forcing apex predators to seek easier prey elsewhere on the open savanna. Furthermore, early hominids learned to exploit the natural alarm calls of herbivore species to monitor predator movements across vast distances. When a leopard stalked through the grass, species like baboons, vervet monkeys, and bush bucks uttered specific high-pitched alarm barks to alert their herds. Paleolithic humans paid close attention to these interspecies warning systems, using the cries of other prey animals as an early warning network. By listening to the forest's acoustic chatter, human foraging parties gained precious extra minutes to climb trees, prepare spears, or light torches before a predator could reach striking distance. If you find it fascinating that modern human sleep patterns and sentinel anxiety were sculpted by Ice Age predators, share your thoughts in the comments below. Beyond local group defenses, early humans constructed early warning trail markers along high-frequency migration routes. By snapping specific tree branches, stacking stones in recognizable cairn shapes, and carving deep grooves into tree bark, Paleolithic foraging parties left persistent environmental signposts for other bands. These visual markers indicated recent saber-toothed cat sightings, fresh water sources, or safe elevated sleeping caves, effectively creating a shared intertribal intelligence network. Furthermore, early humans utilized thermal insulation from animal pelts not just for warmth, but as protective armoring against predator bites. Wearing thick, multi-layered furs of mammoths, bison, and cave bears reduced the penetration depth of big cat claws, turning potentially fatal lacerations into superficial wounds. This early protective clothing allowed human hunters to withstand aggressive melee encounters during predator confrontations. The shift from hunted prey to apex predator transformed human culture in ways we still experience today. The shared trauma of predator attacks birthed our earliest myths, legends, and monster folklore. The terrifying beasts painted on the walls of Chauvet and Altamira caves were not just art. They were sacred attempts to understand, honor, and psychologically conquer the very predators that hunted us in the dark. The dragons, chimera, and demons of ancient mythology are all composite caricatures of the saber-toothed, giant eagles, and bone-crushing hyenas that haunted our Paleolithic night. The psychological evolution of early humans also shaped our deep-seated need for tribal belonging. In the Paleolithic wilderness, banishment from the tribe was equivalent to a death sentence. An isolated human had no night watch to guard their sleep, no hunting partners to track game, and no spears to ward off leopards. This is why human beings experience rejection and social isolation as intense physical pain in the brain. The same neural pathways that process physical wounds are triggered when you feel excluded by your peers, because in our evolutionary past, being cast out meant becoming prey before sunrise. Furthermore, early humans developed sophisticated acoustic signaling to warn group members of lurking dangers across long distances. Different vocal calls mimicked specific animal sounds to signal whether a threat was airborne, like a predatory eagle, or ground-based, like a saber-toothed cat. This primitive warning network laid the linguistic groundwork for early dialects and tactical communication. By sharing real-time environmental data, human bands created an invisible radar network that blanketed their entire territory. The weapons we developed to defend against predators eventually sparked the dawn of early warfare and territorial defense. As human populations grew and fertile hunting grounds became scarce, bands began using throwing spears and heavy stone axes not just against big cats, but against competing human groups. The very tools forged in the furnace of predator-prey survival became the instruments of intertribal conflict, forever altering the social architecture of human civilization. The next time you sit around a crackling campfire under the stars, feel a cool night breeze, or hear the distant howl of a wolf in the woods, take a deep breath and appreciate the incredible journey of your bloodline. You are not a random accident of history. You are the living, breathing culmination of 2 million years of unbroken survival triumph. Every fear that makes your pulse race in the dark, every instinct that compels you to seek the warmth of family and community, is a sacred evolutionary trophy earned by fragile primates who looked into the glowing eyes of Ice Age monster carnivores and refused to perish. Your ancestors faced the most terrifying beast this planet ever produced, with nothing more than sweat, fire, wooden sticks, and an unyielding commitment to each other. And against all biological odds, they won. Subscribe right now to keep digging into the deep evolutionary history of the mind you inhabit, so you can start working with your biology instead of against it.